somebody speaking about smart cities. I remember it was in 2004, so 11 years ago. And I also remember who those people were. They were from Korea. It was a delegation from South Korea visiting my office. At that time, I was the head of the urban planning department of the city of Amsterdam. And these Korean people wanted to build a smart city. And it was called New Songdo. And they visited Amsterdam because they thought that Amsterdam was already building smart cities. We were not, of course. Smart cities was something of the future. And I was puzzled when they started talking about this smart city thing. And then, to my surprise, the next year, some people from Cisco Systems, who have one of their headquarters in this city, came to my office. And again, they started talking about smart cities. And again, I was puzzled. And they came up with a proposal to start a collaboration between San Francisco, where their headquarters is, Seoul in South Korea, there you are again, and Amsterdam, to start building and thinking about smart cities. Wow. So that was 2005, and then it's all started, this thinking. And still I'm thinking about this, what is it, smart cities? And it seems to be something like engineers like very much. And it's something like engineering the future city, because it is all about the future city, of course. So one of the books I remember I started to read again is this one of an American writer, a science fiction writer. Well, it's Roger Elwood. It's not only him, but it's some 20 science fiction writers writing about the future city, and this is 1973, right? And because it's all science fiction. Well, that was the great times of science fiction, the 70s. It was all about science fiction, science, science, science. So I reread it, and that was a very different view on the future of cities. It would be the end of cities. In the 70s, we thought it would all be over with those cities because of technology. That's funny. So that reminded me of this guy called Le Corbusier, the French guy, yeah? And now we are in the 20s and 30s. And that were those engineers, again, thinking about the future of cities in the 20s. It was a kind of la ville radieuse, the functional city. And that was also about technology, about motor cars entering the city, and skyscrapers, and all these kind of things, new technology. And they were fascinated by it, and they called it the functional city, and it would be the city of the future, right? So what happened to that future? Well, you all might remember these movies of Jacques Tati, 58, 59, about Le Corbusian future city. That was very, very, very funny. So all this technology, so citizens having to deal with all this technology, this future, this space age, this new world. And of course, not knowing how to handle it. An awful, horrible city it was. But that was the time, of course, 58. That was a time of the world expos, like this one in New York. So 63, people wanted to see the future. This was the Cold War. So the Soviets fighting the Americans. wanting to build the greatest cities in the world. And that was space age. So that was really cities of rocket science, aeronautic cities. Nothing, of course, nothing came out of it. All engineering future cities. And again, those engineers do it again. Dreaming about this future city, which will gonna be a kind of engineer city. Oh yeah, I almost forgot this one, Buckminster Fuller, Bucky. Yeah, so that was really the space age. That was the Cold War. So on Manhattan, building a huge geodesic dome, and with an artificial climate, that it would be sustainable at last, the city. So do it like this, right? Yeah, so living like this. Of course, again, nothing came out of it. I love all these thoughts about the future, but yeah, well, dream on, engineers. Yeah, yeah, and then even thinking that that this world, this planet, is a kind of spaceship Earth. How funny it is. So yeah, this smart city thing is again a trick of engineers. Yeah. And of course there will be technology, there already is. The city is stuffed with technology, of course it is all technology. But there are also citizens, right? And they are not only consumers of technology. So what you can learn in history, so while doing this again and again, is that when engineers starting to develop their technology for cities, that something strange always happens. So let me focus on this book. It's about New York. It's a great book, Ravel. He's the writer, and it's about building Gotham. It's New York, yeah? And it starts in the 19th century. And it's a book about engineers. Because then, in the middle of the 19th century, engineers started to building their bridges, tunnels, metro systems, all technology, sewage systems, you name it. That was very, very smart, of course. So, and they were heroes, brave men, trying to enter New York, the monster. And they had to deal with complexity. Because a city is complexity. A city is all the citizens. And at that time it was more than 2 million, almost 3 million citizens. And all this whole institutional world, all these organizations in a city. And for engineers it was very, very difficult to deal with. Very, very difficult, even though they were really very, very brave. So yeah, they managed to build the skyscrapers at last, but totally different from what they thought it would all gonna be. It was a kind of chaotic world, very, very chaotic. And then it was the discovery of what they started calling planning. That's my profession. It all started there. So engineers having big, big problems with cities. And then planning started as a kind of civic culture. Culture, that's a new word. Very strange for engineers. Culture, a civic culture. Because you've got, this is a railway station. It's a great piece of engineering, but it is the architecture is very monumental. So people wanted to be proud of technology, and it referred to the past. This is McKim. It's the city beautiful. So all the engineering stuff was transformed, changed in architectural styles, in a kind of institutional world that was totally different and was also built new in New York. It's a great book. It's really a great book. And then, in the 60s, the engineers wanted to destroy it. This wonderful Penn Station. And then the citizens started to riot. Well, this is not a riot, of course. It was all decent at that time. The real fights were after that, after 61, this was 61. And of course, these citizens lost. Penn Station was demolished, of course, and we got a new Penn Station. But I just wanted to show you that citizens are very, very powerful and far more powerful than engineers with their dreams. That's my message, I think. Right? And the more technology there will be, and of course it's great what's happening with technology and every new thing that is introduced, but it empowers citizens. That is what it does. It empowers citizens. Because what technology does is liberating us, making us free. Yeah. It empowers. But engineers always forget. They are so much focused on the technology, on their screens, but it's all about, and that is what a city is. It is all about civic involvement. So the smart city will really empower citizens, for sure. So now we are here in the 21st century. And 10 years ago we started talking about smart cities, about our future, about these metropolises. And we are urbanizing very, very fast at this very moment. It might be the last round of urbanization on this planet. Some great authors tell us. So in 20 years, almost all of the inhabitants of this planet will live in cities. Can you imagine? And these cities, of course, will be smart, but in a totally different way. So I'll show you. So for that, and that is what I'm studying at my chair here at the university. So cities are brains. You can look at them as a kind of brain. So thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people functioning together as a huge brain. That is a city. And it's not only a metaphor, you can also try it. So go back to, well, two millennia ago. Athens, yeah, the Greek polis, right? That was the invention of democracy, also a civic invention, an invention of cities. So maybe it all started over there. And we are so much focused on this guy, the philosopher king, the leader, telling us where we are heading for. But what happened in the meantime, so after 2,000 years, is that these citizens have become very, very intelligent. They emancipated in a way. And they got their technology. Now they all have their iPhones. Yeah. So there we are. So this will gonna be a tremendous change. It is already happening in all cities in the world. You see it, this emancipation, this bottom-up process. Yeah. So it is a bottom-up process. Let me give you one example. What is happening? It's really astonishing what is happening. I'll show you an African city. Yeah. I'll show you an African city. So I'll show you Nairobi. Right. So the chaos of Nairobi, 5-6 million people in an African city, but they all have not a smartphone, but they have a mobile. Yeah? And they have traffic, congestion, a massive. They don't have metro systems or whatever, but they have these buses. So they started with some kind of software on your smartphone, like this, developed by MIT just for the citizens, and now they can find their bus, matatus. They can find where it stops, where it goes. They create their new system. It looks like a metro system, but it is a bottom-up chaos of traffic. But now you can follow it. You get your maps. You know where you are, and the whole system of traffic management in this Nairobi, African city, is now, in 2 years' time, it has become a kind of very, very intelligent system. 100% bottom-up, decentralized. So that is what a smart city really is at this moment. Already in Africa, can you imagine? Not only there, but all cities are now doing the same, because all those cities learn from each other. It's a bottom-up process. It's all connected. It can do it very fast. It almost doesn't need engineers anymore. People can do it themselves. And I learned it from one great woman, and you all should know about her. So if you want to understand this process, then go back to her, Jane Jacobs. Right? Just read her great books. And it's all about city life. It's all about citizens. So just forget technology for a moment and focus instead on the citizens. Yeah? In the streets, how they behave. And not thinking they are only consumers. Because you are all citizens, so you know best, right? And she also knew a lot about technology, what technology is. It is just an extension of the human body. It is a help, and it liberates us. So thank you very much. The smart city, it is coming. It is for sure, it is coming, and it is great news, great news. We should be very, very optimistic. Thank you very much.